Watching this movie, the one thing I walked away from was like, it's cool. Like, you see it, and if you are a Star Trek fan or not, you feel like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I knew off the bat, just meeting JJ, that it was a different kind of film. I think if any of us had entered this situation thinking we were just going to do some kind of, impersonation of the characters, it wouldn't have obviously been as appealing as it was, having JJ behind it, reinventing it, reinvigorating it. I had no doubt in my mind that it was going to be something, appealing to someone like myself who was a non-fan going in.
Were you, growing up, did you follow this franchise? Did you love the movies?
I saw some of the early movies, and friends of mine loved Star Trek. I was not one of them. I liked it, but I never really got on board the way they did.
JJ gave us this wonderful kind of admonition to use these other performances as a departure point, right? So, because this story there are very different dilemmas and different conflicts, and we were allowed to just kind of pour ourselves into it.
It starts with JJ.
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard JJ was doing it, I knew it was going to be cool.
Did you have a chance to talk to the original character?
I'd known George a little bit, but hadn't really ever gotten a chance to sit down and talk with him, so I wrote him a letter after I got the role, and asked him if we could get together, and we did, and I was a little nervous, and he kind of made me feel good going forward, relaxed me a little bit, and told me I was going to be just fine, and that meant a lot to me because he just didn't have to be that nice, you know what I mean?
Is it true that you almost passed on this movie?
I did. It was the week I had one. It was like the best week of my life. I got offered this, and I got offered this movie with Joe Carnahan, and a sequel to L.A. Confidential called White Jazz.
George Clooney, right?
George Clooney was in it, and for someone whose resume was about that big, to have those two big opportunities kind of thrown in your lap, and most of my career has been laser focused on working. So then to have the luxury of choice was even actually more difficult than I ever expected.
Chris and I read together. I read with like the last, I think, 4 or 5 guys that were up for the role, and then they offered it to Chris completely unsurprisingly, and then I heard he might not do it, and I called him and I was like, Chris, what are you thinking? But we had ended up having a really good conversation. Yeah. I understood what he was thinking after he explained it, and I'm just glad he made the choice he made, obviously.
Picking Chris for this role, how tough was it, and is it true that initially you had an interest in Matt Damon?
I was interested in Matt Damon for Kirk's father. Because I thought that, what I wanted to do is use the model that Richard Donner's Superman used, which was,
yes,
basically have mostly unknowns in all the key parts, but support the movie with names and recognizable faces. And so I tried to do that, with this movie, and I approached Matt Damon about that, and it ended up not working. I don't think it was what he wanted to do, and which is all fine. But I'm a huge fan of his, and I hope to get to work with him on something someday.
Leonard Nimoy, what was it like having him there, and what was that day like?
Well, the thing about Leonard is he is so graceful and thoughtful and sweet. He's just the nicest guy ever. And I think it was a very emotional thing for him to do this movie, because he came into this, he'd said no so many times, and he finally did this movie. He thought the story was great, loved the script. I don't think he ever thought he'd put those, rubber ears on again, and he did.
We had a chance to also we talked with Leonard and William Shatner, and William Shatner said that he was kind of, he wanted a role in this movie. Is that true, that he wanted to be in this movie, and then you said,
I think, he was interested in being in this movie, but because his character died in one of the movies on screen, any version of making him alive again felt like this gimmick to bring Mr. Shatner onto this movie, which we would have loved to do, but we wanted to also be true to the story that the backstory of Star Trek. And in order to do it, he was clear he didn't want us to do a cameo, so it would have literally meant reinventing our story. And so we basically just bit the bullet and said, this movie, we're going to try and get Leonard, who we didn't know if he'd say yes, and do it that way, and Leonard did. So.
Was he a little upset with you for a minute?
I think he may have been disappointed at the beginning, but Mr. Shatner is very funny, and he's like a showman,
yes,
and he just uses that to kind of like have fun with it. So a lot of it was kind of bluster and just fun, but there was never any bad blood or anything. We've spoken a number of times since. We saw him last night, so all's good.
William Shatner said that his first real bromance was with Leonard Nimoy. Do you guys think you have one of those now because of working together so close.
Romance mean?
Oh, don't pretend you don't know.
What I gotta say is that I don't end up with the girl, so the closest thing I get to any kind of romance is this gentleman sitting to my right.
Yeah.
And I'm very contented with that.
Wow, have you signed on now for a lifetime of Trekkie conventions?
Already booked. Join me at the Marriott in Santa Fe, fall 2010.
You will do a sequel, though, if there is a sequel, which we know there's going to be. You're ready.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we haven't opened this movie, but if they give us if the red phone lights up, I will pick it up and go.
By the way, I just want to break these out for you guys, and I'm sure you've seen them before.
The dolls?
Oh yeah.
You have your
I
own.
don't think I've seen them. Let me check
Does
that
it,
out.
how does
I've
that?
not
And
seen
look
one
at the
yet.
shirts. Check out the shirt.
Wow.
The shirts actually come off, and you like have abs.
What?
Whoa! You just tore Spock in half.
You
just
back together. Relax.
Do you think it looks like you?
Yeah. You don't think it does, do you?
I do.
I don't think it looks like me at all.
No. Is this your first action figure?
Yes, it's amazing. You don't sign up and do a movie and you get this. These are perks, let me tell you.
No.
That's a
really
handsome
pink,
devil.
dude.
My lips are unusually pink. He's pretty handsome, I gotta say.
Check
I
it
just-
out, we're ripped.
Abs of steel.
Yeah, man.
That's a dream. That's the dream.
Well, I thought you got in that kind of shape for the movie.
Check that out, dude.
Didn't you
You know,
get in shape
briefly
like that?
for about 2 minutes, I was in really good shape from
Yeah.
from all the punching and the kicking, but it goes fast.
Critics love this movie. Have there been any preparations at all for the next one?
No, I mean, the only preparation is that there's a deal for the writers and a deal for the actors in case people like it. But it's so funny, for about a year, we've been saying, yeah, we should talk about maybe what another movie should be. You know, but the truth is, none of us have wanted to do it because no one wants to presume there will be, the need for one. So we don't want to jinx anything. So we're like, look, let's just see what people think. If people like the movie, we're happy to talk about it. But we have no story, no outline, no script, nothing.
You know, we're at the point where we're handing a film over that we really love and are proud of. We're handing it over to an audience. Our film is now becoming your film, and we hope that you guys love it and appreciate it and have as much fun watching it as we had making it.